Well, on the Beyond the Flags podcast today, we've got Joby Shields out of Gold Hill, Oregon. He drives the 555, the triple nickel Friesen Performance IMC Northern Sport Mod. He talks about his start in racing, how his dad inspired him to become a race car driver, his times of learning the trade in the pits, and some of those early days of driving a race car, as well as his service with the United States Marine Corps, and a really cool thing to paying tribute to his fellow veterans, the Reps for Vets organization. That's coming up next. But before we get to the interview, make sure wherever you're listening or watching from, you hit the like button and subscribe so that you don't miss out on future episodes. Well, he's out of Gold Hill, and he represents the triple nickel Friesen Performance IMC Northern Sport Mod. Joby Shields. Joby, great to have you on here. You and I, we go back a bit, and I've got to see you race a lot throughout your career, and always a great time to chat with you about racing.
Yeah, dude, I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on this deal.
Well, we'll talk about this year, 2024. You guys ran about 10 times, primarily between Southern Oregon Speedway and Wairika Speedway. 4 top 10s and a 5th place finish on June 28th at Southern Oregon Speedway for your best result of the year. Feel like it's going okay for you guys and your race team?
Oh, it's going pretty okay. It's really good, except for when it's not. I've had tons of opportunities to run up in the top 5, and have had a fast car just lacking on the luck end of the spectrum this year.
Sure.
So, but I got some weird stuff planned for the next couple of weeks, and might maybe surprise some people for the Melvin race. We'll see.
Nice. Well, weird plans in racing. You know, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, we're going to try and switch it up a little bit and maybe come at it with a little bit more speed. I'm not sure yet, but I'm going to keep trying everything we can, you know.
For sure. Well, let's talk about you in racing. Tell me, like, when you got bit by the racing bug. I know that you've been running, I think maybe the first time I saw you was about 2016, somewhere in there, racing what we would call a sport compact now, but the Hornets at Grove. But where did your racing journey begin?
Oh, well, my dad got his first pro stock when I was probably 9 or so. I think it was the first or second season that Southern Oregon Speedway was open. And he raced all the way up until I joined the Marine Corps, and then kind of took a break for a little bit. So I just always grew up around it. I had a mini stock when I was in high school, but we bought it, put it together before the winterized it. And then me and another young kid, we were both dumb teenagers, we took it out to the first testing tune. We actually flat towed it behind a pickup with a tow strap.
Oh, no.
To the track. You know, did no planning, no preparation, just put air in the tires, drug it out there. We were packing the track and spun a rod bearing because nobody remembered to put coolant back in the car. So
wow.
That was the first race car. Never even had a chance to race it. You know, so my dad let me run his A-Mod 1 or 2 times. That's when I was really hooked. So as soon as I got out of the military, I came home and put a car together. But the Hornet was actually my wife's car. She had kind of inherited from her grandparents. So that was the grocery getter for many, many years. And we took my son home from the hospital in it when he was born.
Really?
And that was, that would have been October of 2015. And then I think that winter, I bought her a new car just so I could, or we bought a new car. I didn't buy it for her, but we bought a new car. And I took that old Camry that we had that was a grocery getter and turned it into the first race car. And
holy smokes.
Went out and won a bunch of Hornet races in it. You know, washed up being Banger driver now.
Yeah. So going back to when you went out to test and tune and you guys towed a car to the track. That's not when you were living in Gold Hill, obviously. You were living closer to the racetrack?
Oh, yeah. I grew up in White City.
Okay.
You know, just a hop, skip, and a jump away from the track there.
Sure. I was going to say that's like at least 15 miles or so. You have to go on the 5 unless you know the proper back roads.
Yeah. Nope, nope. It was just right off Falcon Street there in White City. Is where the car was at my grandma's house. And yeah, we just pushed it out in the driveway, towed it down there, fired it up. Didn't even, I mean, that was complete lack of responsibility at that point. I mean, 15, 16 years old.
Yeah, it's how we learn.
Not thinking about that stuff. Yep, exactly that.
Yes, yes. Bad lessons have good lessons in them. So,
yeah.
Well, first of all, we thank you for your service, for serving with the Marines. And my next question was, so obviously your dad raced, Southern Oregon Speedway a couple years. That would have probably been the late 90s or so there. And how did that approach go for you wanting to become a driver? Was that something that he kind of came to you, or are you just getting older, came to him and say, hey, this is something I would want to do at some point?
Oh, I think I always had the bug, growing up, just wanted to do it. And that was back in the, he started in 98 or 99, like you said, late 90s. Mm-hmm. And the rule back then, and I think up until I was in high school, 2006, 2007, was you weren't allowed to be in the pits until you were 13 years old.
Yeah.
So, that's something, I go to the track.
It was hard line, no exceptions.
No exception. None at all.
And we're not going to get people in trouble to say what they did with, when they were a little younger. But yes, yes, very hard line, very hard to do. Gosh, I mean, sorry to interrupt you on your story. I remember, I don't know, did you guys have to do this where you had to go to an actual notary and you'd have to get the stamp? You paid the $5 every year. It was a process. It was
no, I don't process. Think that we did.
Oh man, well I had to do that for 3 years, and it was holy smokes. It was a process.
So I think that in itself was it. I wanted to be there and wanted to do it, but wasn't able to for I think we'd say 4 or 5 years or so. And as soon as I was able to go in the pits, I was all about it. I'm this is a cool new experience, something that I'm allowed to do, whereas I take my son in the pits, he's 9. That's just what he does. He just is there, there's no incentive or something that's out of reach about the experience. He's just included. So I always just wanted to do the next thing. I wanted to go in the pits with my dad. And then when I'm in the pits, I'm I want to work on the car. I want to go and pack the track, So I'd do that, and then I took up a job at the track. I had 2 jobs when I was 16 or so, just doing maintenance and weed eating and all kinds of crap. But one of them was at the racetrack, working for Rick Rapp when he had it.
Okay.
And so I was out there 5 days a week picking up trash, weed eating, leaf blowing, pressure washing the stands, trying to help upkeep the track and stuff. So I've just always been kind of ingrained in the community. And naturally, I've wanted to be a part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. And it's really cool that we're able to bring our kids now at a younger age into the pits. I mean, I know that there are people that have reservations and are pretty vocal about that. And I can understand that to a certain point. If you just bring your kids and just let them loose, that's not correct in my book. You still need to have a head on a swivel. You still need to be if you're going to bring your kid, make sure that you have somebody or yourself have all eyes on them, because you just never know with just the wild and craziness. And you go to some of these tracks and they're really, really darkly, there's no light, and it can be a little shaky. But it, my first experience and exposure to seeing younger kids in the pits was when the World of Outlaws would come to Cottage Grove. And I just remember I was so envious of my gosh, they get to go. Why do they get to go in? I wanted to go see these guys work on these cars, or, get close to these drivers and stuff. But then I did have to realize that, well, that's their house, on the road. They live in the hauler, or, that's where they stay till they go to the hotel room. And I think that's really cool, because that the way it is now, because you can have a different level of interaction with the driver. You bring your kid and I bring my kid, they play together, and it's oh man, when does this guy start going to school? Or, what I mean? It just adds a deeper layer of interaction where it can interact with other parents, basically.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
So, but yeah, if you're thinking about it, just make sure you're watching your kids, like, especially when guys are coming in off of the racetrack. Doesn't matter if it's a sport compact or a 410 sprint car.
Right. Yeah, no, definitely keep close eyes on them. That's what you kind of got to be accountable for your kids everywhere, but especially somewhere inherently dangerous, know?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, calling back to the, 16 and, the young and maybe not the, living and learning deal. No doubt the
young and dumb.
Yeah, young and dumb.
You can say young and dumb.
I didn't want to call you dumb. But joining the Marine Corps, that no doubt got you up to speed on do things the right way, the first way kind of deal. Get kind of some of that get some of that stuff ironed out.
Yeah, and still a little bit of discipline,
Yeah,
for sure. No, if I wouldn't have done that, I don't know where I'd be or what I'd be doing, but I probably wouldn't be as responsible of an adult as I am now. Even though we were quite irresponsible in the Marine Corps,
Yes.
You'd think it's all seriousness, but that's the farthest thing from the truth.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, yeah. Just as long as the head NCO isn't around, or even the commission officers, So,
right.
Yep. When the cat's away, the mice come out and play.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well,
played a lot.
You got something cool going on, and I'd like you to promote it and put on your promoter's hat here. You guys, you and your race team have got a bit of a social media presence started, and I guess just tell everybody all about that and what that's about.
Yeah. So the Reps for Vets Racing, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
I got my hands in all kinds of cookie pots with stuff on social media doing it. I do promotional content for a couple racetracks and some other stuff too. But Reps for Vets was started Reps for Vets is a company. Reps for Vets Racing started after I coerced Justin Dorr into buying a race car and coming and come out to play with us. Mm-hmm. We met, I want to say, in 17 or 18. He had a clothing line that I found on Facebook, and I hit him up. I saw he was in Southern Oregon. I was like, hey, dude, I'm also a veteran. It'd be cool to put your stuff on my race car. And he was coming out to the racetrack. And so that's kind of how our interaction started. So he made me a few T-shirts and gave me a sticker, and I put his logo on the car and did that for a couple of years, and then finally got him to come out in the pits with me. And he was hooked right away. And then Nick Berryhill, one of our other buddies, he was selling his car at that point, or at least entertaining the idea of selling his car. And I think between the time I brought Justin in the pits and he had his own car was maybe a month. I mean, he was immediately hooked. I want to do it. So we get his car going. He comes out and we're racing together. And I don't want to speak on his behalf, but he does struggle sometimes with like the depression and PTSD and things like that. Mm-hmm. And we had some good discussions about how racing affects him positively when it comes to that kind of mental and behavioral, not health problems, but just things that, we go through and a lot of service members do just because of, the weird stuff that might have happened to you or whatever.
Correct. Yeah.
So because of that, we're like super gung ho about trying to get other veterans involved in racing and to use it as an outlet to help with PTSD, help with, suicide prevention, help with things like, when you get out of the military, there's a lot of guys that go from having extreme structure to zero structure. Mm-hmm. And you feel like you don't have things in check. You don't know what your purpose is. You don't know why you woke up today. Mm-hmm. And what you're going to go do. And So having a hobby like racing, where there's hard work involved, there's adrenaline involved, there's, you have to have knowledge on what you're doing, why you're doing it, set up, strategic. There's a strategic aspect to it where you can use a lot of the parts of your brain that you used in the military while racing a car or working on a race car. Mm-hmm. So we wanted to try and create something where we can bring other veterans in and do this with them. And I think our end goal is, once we get the YouTube page and the TikTok and everything blown up to a certain point where we can monetize it, we're going to use those funds to, open things up and fly guys in for a weekend and they can come pit for us, or, maybe find some bigger, corporate sponsorships and stuff where maybe we could even put together a car mm-hmm. where a dude can come out and drive it on a test and tune, or who knows, even race it one day.
Sure.
That's all way in the future, but that's the gist of it. Because of our shared experience through racing and how it relates to the military, we think it'd be neat to get veterans involved in motorsports.
Yeah. No, that's super cool. And are you familiar with the Hunting with Heroes Salute to Veterans tour that they have going on in Iowa? That's a super cool idea. Where they bring people out and everything, and it's just so cool, all the pomp and pageantry. Not putting an idea in your head, obviously you guys got a lot on your plate, but that'd be kind of a cool thing to see how here on the West Coast, where you have, a veteran paired up with the driver or whatever, and then, have special, those wraps are just insane with just all the love and thought that they put into those deals.
Yeah, they are. And that's so cool. I'd love to be a part of that one day. But mm-hmm. just traveling nationally is not on the books currently.
Sure. Sure.
But yeah, maybe we could sort something out. It would be really cool. I think we're trying to make some big races come through, like around Memorial Day weekends next year. Mm-hmm. I think between the Western Sport Mod Nationals getting its date moved, we're gonna at SOS we're gonna do a big race. I'm not sure if it's going to be the R. Charles or if it's going to be a Sport Mod race, a different race. That's kind of all in the planning stages, and it'd be cool to get Roseburg on, kind of on the same plan, where we could promote something where we'd have, 6 or 7 days of racing at 3 separate tracks, maybe 6 days, I don't know. And attract some guys from elsewhere in the country and do, maybe do something cool with that, maybe get involved.
Yeah, no, I think that's a super cool idea.
I hope I'm not spoiling anything. I don't know if any of that's completely ironed out.
It's all tentative. Yeah. You're only spoiling when you release specific dates and specific payout numbers, I think. So
right. Which I've accidentally done.
Yeah,
that's the thing I did.
I don't think you did. I don't think you did here though. So, for people that want to see this salute to Rep to Vets, page, what's the best way? Like, what are the platforms and what are the handles that they can look it up?
So I think on everything it is R4V Racing.
Okay. Nice. And then you said you do stuff for track content too.
Yeah, so I'm heading the Southern Oregon Speedway TikTok account currently, and we're like almost at 5,000 followers or whatever. It's been, the TikTok algorithm is a complete monster, and you never know how things are going to work or what's going to blow up or what's not. But
yeah,
we Justin and I actually kind of came to the track together and had this idea of, trying to make the drivers more personable again. And it kind of goes back to, when I was younger, not being able to go into the pits until a certain age. And now you can go in the pits with your parents, where it used to be, dad's racing, mom's in the stands with the kids, mm-hmm. and another driver's mom or wife is in the stands with the kids. and you're playing with other drivers' kids, and then the drivers have to come up and see their wives and, you know, partners and whatever throughout the night. So the kids get to see the drivers, the kids get to meet them. I felt like when I was younger, it was much more involved that way. Whereas now it's almost segregated, where most of us stay in the pits all night long or stay in the stands all night long and don't intermingle and don't communicate in a way where fans in the stands don't always know who's in their favorite car, what they look like, what they sound like. They don't have a face to put to the name, you know. So trying to do more of like the smaller scale interviews and stuff in the pits, interviewing fans in stands, doing some of that stuff to where we can kind of make it a little bit more personable, and everybody can kind of match names and faces and things like that. So that's part of what we're trying to do with that TikTok page.
That's really cool, because I mean, this is just a crazy thing, is when I was little, like, you know, 5-6 years old, I love trophy dashes because you got to see the winner. Obviously, I love going in the pits after the races, but for trophy dashes, and some of the people that I grew up watching might hate me, you know, hearing this, but I wanted to see a different winner each night, especially if it was from out of town, because I wanted to see what he looked like. I wanted to see what his voice sounded like. So that really hit home when you told me that.
Right. And that's a memory for me as well. And that's kind of what we're trying to bring back, you know, because everybody, whether we like it or not, and I can't speak for everyone, but the majority of people are going to be glued to their device. Mm-hmm. You know, most of the time you're consuming media on Facebook or TikTok or news or however you're getting it. But, you know, getting in front of that demographic that's got their phone in their hand might be, you know, beneficial to the race community. I've had a number of folks approach me about, you know, they saw videos about the track on TikTok and they'd never been before. So they came out, and now they've been every week since they saw their first, you know, video about it. And I think that's really neat. And just getting in front of the demographic that we need to be in front of, because not everybody's on Facebook, not everybody's on Twitter or Instagram, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really good. I like that. Grassroots promoting and using modern tools, modern technology to try and stay ahead of the curve.
Yeah, that's a pretty eloquent way to put it.
Are you looking to find that adrenaline rush, but you can't because you're not at the racetrack? Well, check out the IMCA TV Replay subscription library to have access to thousands of hours of racing for just $24.99 a month. Relive all the moments of the Speedway Motors IMCA Super Nationals fueled by Casey's at Boone Speedway, the Harris Clash at Deer Creek Speedway in Spring Valley, Minnesota, the IMCA TV Winter Nationals at Cocopah Speedway in Somerton, Arizona, Florida's Clash on the Coast, and dozens of Speedway Motors IMCA weekly racing program racetracks from across the nation, as well as the IMCA TV Dirtcast podcast. Plus, 25% of that $24.99 monthly fee goes towards the Drivers Point Fund and is a great way to help out your local racers. In 2023, over $97,000 was paid out to IMCA drivers directly at over 50 racetracks across the country. Where did that origin come from? Live broadcasts are not part of the replay subscription.
So when my dad was in the Army and he was stationed back east,
to watch racing,
he worked at a few racetracks doing security, so you'd be able to volunteer to do security details and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure I remember the story. I probably should. It's my number. So when he was back east in the Army and he was doing either security or at a dirt track, he saw a super late model or a wedge car that was 555, and he said, if I ever get my own race car, I want to do that. I like that number.
Okay.
And so when, you know, he and my nanny, I think, got his first pro stock back in 98 or 99, that's what he decided his number was, and then I just inherited it.
Okay. That's a cool story. So
it is. It's kind of neat. You know, there's no, you know, numerical significance to it. It doesn't really stand for anything. I mean, unless you're into that, astrology and whatever, you know, the
Sure.
triple digit, you know, angel numbers or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into all that stuff, but
Yeah.
you know, my wife kind of was telling me that one time, and we looked it up, and then whatever the explanation for that number was, I was like kind of resonated with a little bit. And I don't want to sound all, you know, hokey or whatever, but you know, it was, I was like, oh damn, that's kind of neat. You know, it's kind of like when you do read or hear a horoscope, even if you don't believe in it, kind of makes you go, huh, neato, you know?
Yes. Yeah, no.
So that's why I'm sticking with it.
Yeah. No, I like that story. That's really cool. And I'm sure that was back in the day. I mean, it's not as rare now, but like back in the day, like triple digit numbers was I wouldn't say taboo, but you didn't see it that much. It was
No.
either single digit or double digits, you know. So
yeah. And now we got numbers that look like a damn Facebook password.
Exactly. Yeah. Two numbers with a letter followed by two numbers and a you know
and a special character.
A punctuation. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Tyler Brown, he, you know, a guy that I interviewed on here from like Oakley, California, he's got a 4-digit number. So it's just like, huh. It's, you know, the more things change, the more they stay the same, except it's numbers. So
yeah. Well, I think the big thing with that is just the evolution of transponders and not having to hand score cars.
Sure. Oh,
because I could see, you know, back in the day, hand scoring cars with triple digit numbers, or even I remember back when you would have to reserve your number, and you were the only one that got it.
And that was a big deal.
You know,
because if you didn't get it, get it, people would freak the you know what out.
Oh yeah, and it's not like the sevens of today.
Sure.
7M, 7S, 7 W7,
yes.
7.
Well, and like the Bud I-5 series, they used to go to Medford, the late model group, and it was that way for a long time. So you'd have like Greg Walters was the 97, and then Bob Boyd would show up, and he was the 197. And one time at Cottage Grove, Steve Moore drove for Greg Walters' backup car, so it was the 971. It was just wild. But, you know, you would see that a lot. Now everything's sorted out. I would say a little bit more organized, where you do get a lot of letter and number combinations there. But yeah.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Now you got people with special characters like, you know, question mark or X, you know, or I mean, you know,
right.
Colin Weinbarger with the Superman symbol. So
yeah. But as long as your transponder's working and the computer knows who to score,
sure,
you know, you can have whatever on your car, I'd assume.
Yes. Yeah, pretty much.
Unless you're the Bloom family.
Yeah.
And then you guys can just all have exactly the same thing.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, no. It took me a couple of years to master that down, and then they changed some of them changed their numbers, so it's like, okay, great. But it keeps you on your toes. So
it is pretty sick though. I mean, I love how they do that. You know, it's definitely a family ordeal, but yeah, I can imagine. And like whenever there's something that happens on the track, you know, I'm usually not one to lose my temper, and I've only done it a couple of times, especially like a few weeks ago. But anyway, like even if you get into somebody and you don't mean to, and you want to go apologize to them, and you hit one of those cars, I don't know who the heck to go talk to.
Sure.
You know, you just go wander down to their pits. Sure. You know, raise your hand and say, "Did I hit somebody over here?"
I come in peace. I'm here to parlay. You know, that was my bad. So,
you know, I had a right rear spring fall out of the car. Shoot. The last time they were down, I don't remember if it was R. Charles or if it was Speed Week or something like that. And yeah, spit the right rear spring out and just lawn darted. It was Aaron Bloom. No, it was Dalton. No, it was Aaron. It was Aaron. It was one of them. But yeah, so I went down there and, you know, I was like, hey, who did I get into? And I'm sorry about it, you know, because that's something you can't avoid. It's just one of those things.
Sure, totally. when you're not racing, obviously racing takes up a lot of your time. Whether it's working on social media work or working on the race car. You and the family, what are some things that you guys like to enjoy doing?
My son and I took up fishing quite a bit this year.
Okay.
Salmon fishing on the road, and then going to some stock ponds. Yeah. And then my wife and I go to concerts.
Okay. Which
and then every once in a while
are a big thing in Southern Oregon too. So.
Oh, we have to travel usually when we go to them.
Oh, okay.
We just saw Blink 182 in Portland a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
On the 13th. The 13th.
Yeah, my fiance and I were supposed to go to that, but she didn't. She wasn't able to come out, so we're going to Foo Fighters on the 16th. So.
Sick.
Never.
Love that.
Never been. I wanted to go to Blink 182 because they were popular when I was school, but I'm hoping it's not the last tour and I get to see them at some point. So.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
They're in it for the long haul now. It's been my favorite band since I was 13 or so.
Sure, that's cool. Yeah, and then fishing. My buddy, he used to do the guide service where you're in the boat, where he's like rowing and everything.
Rad.
That seemed like I said, seems to be like on the Rogue there, like Rogue River area, seems to be really popular. Obviously, people do it from the shore and all that stuff, but yeah, his favorite story I heard is he was guiding with a bunch of these guys and they were wanting to take selfies and stuff, and he's like, guys, like my arms are getting tired, so let's go. Put your phones down.
Right.
So. Well,
it's not real unless it's on Facebook, man.
It's not real. Yeah, no one believes you. So,
yeah.
Exactly. For people that have never been to the Gold Hill area, I mean, it's a nice little beautiful area outside of like that Medford, in between Medford and Grants Pass. What are some cool things to do? Some points of interest for people that might be driving through or might be visiting in the neighboring area that would kind of come out and see some cool things.
The Oregon Vortex is like my number one suggestion for that. It's super cool. Really interactive for kids. There's a bunch of, history, whether it's real or not.
Sure.
There could be a bunch of manufactured history about, the indigenous roots and everything there at that point. It's supposed to be like a magnetic anomaly.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. And then they have a bunch of exhibits of things that apparently defy physics. So that's super neat. I like going there.
I went there last spring, and it was just one of those deals where it was really cool. It was really interesting, and reading the history about it was pretty interesting. And yeah, basically it's what it's like there's like a mystery house there kind of deal, and it's like sideways and everything. And man, I just felt like my equilibrium was off like half the time. And I don't know if that's because of going through this crooked house or because I'm having to, go up and down in elevation, hiking on some of the trails they had or what. But it's like, man, this is some wild stuff. So.
Yeah, that's part of the, what they say is part of the magnetic deal there, because like they say like back in history and stuff, animals won't go into that.
Yeah.
Area there.
Like the pack animals were like frightened.
Yeah. So that's probably one of the cooler things that Gold Hill has. And then there's a bunch of neat spots on the river. And then just a bunch of really cool, like if you kind of hit a few of the small trails and waysides on the, on 234, like if you're just kind of exploring heading towards Shady Cove area, there's all kinds of little infographics and stuff on the side of the road where you can pull over and you can learn about the Native American history of the area, because it is kind of at the, it's a little distance away, but at the base of the Table Rocks where we used to have all kinds of Native American stuff in the valley. So that's neat. I like history and I like learning about things. That stuff intrigues me.
Yeah. The Rogue River Wars. One of them, I think the last one started because the Table Rock used to be the reservation, and
yep.
Lots of cool history. Well, and there's a winery too, right off of the 5. Right?
Oh, yep.
That's
Del Rio.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, of the river. Yeah, it seems like it's a happening place.
Oh, it is. Yeah, I quit drinking. I don't know, 9 years ago. Whenever my son was born, pretty much.
Yeah.
Because I did plenty of that for a couple lifetimes when I was in the military.
Yeah.
So I don't venture out too much to the vineyards, but yeah, that's a good one. I know my wife has gone there a number of times, and they have her favorite. I think it's her favorite wine. The Rose Jolie comes from Del Rio. I think it's real good.
Nice. Well, sweet. Well, it's been great hearing your story. Obviously, it's always great getting a chance to talk to you and everything. Before I let you go, because I know you're a busy cat, sponsors or individuals that you want to thank for making either your entire racing career happen or even just the 2024 season.
Oh, man, that's a long list, probably. First and foremost, my wife, she puts up with me doing all of everything all the time. You know, I spend far more hours than what's appropriate doing stuff revolved around racing. So she's my number one. And then Reps for Vets Apparel and Justin Dorr, Midnight Graphics, Pinky's Out Garage, 11J Motorsports and Automotive, Medford Radiator Battery Systems, and Warhorse Ordnance. And that's what's learned, man. The company I work for doesn't necessarily sponsor me monetarily, but I would say, sponsor me in time and support to do what I enjoy doing. It's super cool. I've worked for, only a few different companies, but this one, man, they'll let me take off pretty much any day, any time. I'm outside sales, so I kind of make my own schedule, but they're super forgiving when it comes to being able to get out and do things that have to do with racing. Like right now I'm walking around behind the office on a cool little podcast. Sure. And they just said, as long as you come back in the office and you sell something, you're good to go,
Yeah. You got to show up before it's 5 o'clock. So, well,
yep, that's it.
So Reps for Vets, apparel. Can people buy apparel of you and Justin to help support your guys' race team or support the Reps for Vets group?
Yes, they can, and that's going to be at repsforvets22.com.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, we're coming out with more merch. I've got my own merch store on Bonfire, but the link is way too complicated to, just put out there. But I've got a handful of T-shirt designs that I've designed myself and put out there. I think it's on my Facebook. Okay. So if anybody wants to see it, they can go check it out.
Awesome. Well, cool. Well, I appreciate it, Joby. It's great to have kindled our friendship the way we have and continue to. And I wish you the best of luck with all the social media stuff. And we'll definitely stay in touch about future endeavors and see, where Reps for Vets goes. And I'm happy to support it in any way that I can. And this was wonderful.
Heck yeah, no, I really appreciate the call. It's a pretty neat thing to be involved in on a Friday.
Well, race fans, that does it for this interview. We hope you enjoyed it, and we hope that you continue to enjoy these upcoming interviews. We appreciate it if you would like and subscribe wherever you're listening, whether it's on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, wherever it's at. Give us a like and give us a subscription so that we can deliver more of these great interviews to you for your listening pleasure. In the meantime, wherever we're at, wherever you're listening, we hope you have a great rest of your day and a pleasant evening, and we will see you soon here at Highside Racing Promotions.